Our minds are constantly plagued with distractions, notifications, deadlines, and an intricate list of tasks that drag us in many directions. This might make you wonder, is there a long-standing practice that could mute the noise, bring a laser-like focus to my mind, and enable me to achieve my goals with ease? In this video, I will guide you on how to apply the Lotus Method, a practice deeply rooted in Eastern philosophy, to transform your scattered thoughts into a serene, clear, and centered mindset. If you miss this, you might perpetually remain a victim of distraction. However, if you watch till the end and apply the principles, you begin a transformational journey in your life, starting now. Let's begin with part 1, which describes Gohan's struggle with resistance. Gohan is brimming with potential, not so different from you. He is ambitious, with big dreams and clear goals. He endeavors to get fitter, to excel in his job, and to make headway in his personal life. However, every time Gohan attempts to move towards his dreams, there seems to be an invisible force holding him back. Though he is not lacking in motivation, as evidenced by his frequent consumption of motivational videos, podcasts, and self-improvement literature, his mind works against him every time he tries to act. Instead of working towards his goals, Gohan frequently ends up aimlessly scrolling through his phone. Each time he makes plans to begin something significant, his brain steers him towards an easier, more comfortable activity. This cycle of procrastination and self-doubt has him stuck. Though fully aware of what's happening, breaking free seems an impossibility. This problem, however, is not unique to Gohan. It's universal. Our minds naturally evade discomfort. Whenever faced with a daunting or unfamiliar challenge, our minds seek solace in distractions such as social media, games, daydreaming, and more. Gohan feels as if he's wrestling himself, and the motivation from the content he consumes is short-lived. He's slowly realizing he needs something deeper, more substantive than fleeting motivation. Eastern philosophy likens our minds to wild monkeys, leaping from one thought or distraction to another, avoiding anything uncomfortable or challenging. The Buddha once said, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." This is precisely what Gohan has been experiencing, his own thoughts continually drawing him away from his true desires and toward temporary comfort. Ancient monks comprehended this internal struggle and devised methods to tame the mind, steering it toward focus, clarity, and tranquility. The mind's inherent nature is to resist challenges. It leans toward safety and familiarity. But Eastern philosophies, more particularly those that inspired the Lotus Method, teach us that this resistance shouldn't be overpowered by brute force. The first step in overcoming this resistance lies in awareness. Gohan's story teaches us that by understanding that our minds shield us from discomfort, we can break away from being too hard on ourselves. The first lesson in the Lotus Method: grasp what your mind is before trying to change it. For Gohan, the fight with his mind is clear. Its resistance to uncanny situations is natural, but awareness is the first solution. Having been enlightened to the resistant nature of his mind, he stops trying to force his mind to behave differently. Instead, he embraces his mind's role in safeguarding him from discomfort, all while not yielding to these protective tendencies. This core principle of Lotus Method advocates that to change your thoughts, you must first be aware of them. However, awareness is only the initial step. How does Gohan advance having understood his mind? The ensuing phase of the Lotus Method educates Gohan on how to unshackle himself from the chains of resistance and glide along with his thoughts instead of opposing them. Moving on to part 2, embracing the flow of life, Gohan reaches a crucial realization. His previous methods of forcing himself to toil harder and battling resistance aren't helping him progress. Upon reflecting deeper, he stumbles upon the teachings of Lao Tzu, a distinguished philosopher of Taoism. Lao Tzu preached about Wu Wei, the concept of non-resistance, the skill of moving with life rather than against it. One of Lao Tzu's teachings, by letting it go, it all gets done, deeply resonates with Gohan. Initially, this confuses him. How can letting go accomplish anything at all? But the more Gohan ponders on it, the more he realizes that this struggle might be due to him working against his nature, against the flow of life. What if ascending the ladder of tough tasks weren't about raw force? What if challenges didn't need to feel like a battle? The Lotus Method, entrenched in the diverse culture of Eastern philosophy, suggests that the answer may not lie in fighting harder, but rather in the ceasing of the fight altogether, to find the harmony that exists within the effort. The teachings of Wu Wei contradict the widely accepted belief in today's society that we can achieve more by going against life's flow. This isn't about being nonchalant or giving up. It's about navigating in synchrony with life's natural rhythms. When we push too hard, life pushes back harder. However, once we align ourselves with life's ebb and flow, our advancement requires less effort. Instead of viewing arduous tasks as adversaries, Gohan starts to see them as part of the rhythm of life, as part of his personal flow. Every time a difficult task arises, a workout, a work project, or a personal challenge, he chooses to take a break and reminds himself not to resist. He welcomes the difficulty as part of life's current, which brings about an inner peace. This shift makes his tasks feel lighter, and where once Gohan struggled internally with getting things done, he now experiences calm during the process. This signifies the next phase in the Lotus Method, letting go of resistance and finding harmony in effort. Growing progressively proficient in adapting to the flow of life, Gohan's next challenge lies in enhancing his journey through this cultivation of stillness and reflection, which we will cover in Part 3, The Power of Stillness and Reflection. Gohan continues his journey seeking, discovering through Zen Buddhism and the concept of zazen, or sitting meditation, a new way to quiet his restless mind. At first the theory seems simple, practicing silence. However, as Gohan applies it, he realizes how challenging it is to sit still amidst the acceleration of his thoughts. Used to constant action, Gohan struggles with the notion that doing less could be the solution. Drawing from the teachings of Zen Master Dogen, Gohan begins to grasp that truth and clarity stem not from constant movement forward, but from attaining stillness. Through the practice of zazen, Gohan's mind starts to settle, and clarity prevails. Just like a turbulent lake quiets down when the wind ceases, Gohan's mind gains clarity with each practice of stillness. In these quiet moments, he sees his challenges not as towering hurdles, but as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. He realizes how his restless need to keep doing complicated matters, making his mind resistant. In the tranquil serenity of stillness, Gohan discovers the clarity that eluded him before. Instead of diving headlong into tasks, he steps back, practices zazen, and patiently waits for the answers to come to him. In the quiet, he discovers his inner reservoirs of strength. This constitutes the third stage of the Lotus Method, the cultivation of stillness, and the realization that in quietude blooms great strength and clarity. Gohan began to understand the link between stillness and growth, likening it to the roots of a lotus flower settled deep in the mud, dirty and yet vital for life. Lotus flowers shoot out into the sunlight, from the mud to bloom with a purity that never ceases to appeal. Gohan saw within his trials and tribulations, the anxiety and the apprehension, the potential for his growth. Practicing stillness every day, Gohan controlled his mind, achieving a consistent focus. Now, during challenging tasks, he was composed, his mind clear, and solved problems with a calm, methodical vigor. But, he quickly realized, stillness alone wouldn't cut it. Yes, Gohan had accomplished mental calmness, but now it was time to turn that clarity and focus into action. The fourth phase, turning contemplation into action. As Gohan diligently and consistently practiced stillness, changes became apparent. His mind, once a nexus of chaos and confusions, transformed into a machine of accurate decision-making and laser-sharp focus. He fondly remembered the teachings of the Shaolin monks who not only spent hours meditating for mental stillness and clarity, but also subjected their bodies to stringent physical discipline. The monks ardently believed in the deep connection rooted between mental lucidity and physical action, and that the absence of one meant the deficiency of the other. Consequently, Gohan realized that while meditation brought him mental tranquility and clarity, it was time to convert that contemplation into productive action. Drawing inspiration from the Shaolin monks, Gohan started seeing his daily life tasks through the lens of a Shaolin monk's training regimen. He understood that he didn't need to tackle every bit at once. Instead, he channeled his newfound clarity and focus into individual tasks, prioritizing one at a time. The Shaolin monks stressed mastering the balance between mind and body. When the mind was calm, the body was capable of taking intentional actions. Although, when the mind was in turmoil, the body couldn't function orderly. As such, Gohan learned to translate his mental stillness into directed, intentional actions. It was all about balance. As he equated the monk's teachings with his life, he discovered he could achieve more than he thought, all without overwhelming anxiety. Consistently applying this philosophy to his work, relationships, and personal projects, Gohan found the once dreadful, daunting tasks manageable now, handling them with calm determination. His approach was disciplined and precise, like the deliberate, mindful movements of a Shaolin monk. Even with sharp focus and intentional actions in his arsenal, there was one final element missing, the final phase, mastering the art of patience. Although Gohan had made significant strides, he found himself growing increasingly impatient. Despite his best efforts and focused approach, the results weren't quite lining up as fast as he anticipated. Baffling frustration added up, and Gohan began to question if his process was flawed. That's when he remembered the teachings of the Eastern monks and the patience of the lotus flower. It takes time for the lotus to rise from the muddy water, but eventually it blooms into a radiant beauty. The monks emphasize that patience is pivotal. Rushing the process only leads to resistance, not progress. Taking the lessons to heart, Gohan started embracing the slow pace of his journey, letting go of his impatience. Like the lotus flower, he believed that his time to bloom will come, but on its terms, not his. Thus, the art of patience became his final lesson to dominating his mind, and with it, he felt an unfamiliar and tranquil sense of peace. So, where are you on this journey? Are you grappling with resistance, or are you braced to embrace the Lotus Method? Begin with a simple step, be it practicing mental stillness, incorporating more intentional and focused actions, or learning to be patient with yourself. While your growth is inevitable, remember, it will happen in its own course. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us in this journey to control our minds.